I just wanted to make a follow-up video to this video I made the other day that shows this thing coming in and impacting the side of this truck, and say that I think it was most likely a UAP Dragon, DUI Dragon. And notice the side of the truck right there. The Dragon may not have actually hit the truck. It may actually be the force field around the Dragon. The electromagnetic field around the Dragon may be what actually struck the truck, and the small UAP Dragon itself never actually physically made contact. As it comes in, you can see a light behind it, almost like what you would think of as a rocket. And then as it goes out, the same way that it came in, you can see a light behind it again. There's a few reasons I'm going to go over here why I say I believe this was probably an out-of-control UAP Dragon, as opposed to some sort of rocket-propelled device. You can see it come in, you can hear it whistling as it comes in, you can see the inboard dash cam. Because A, when I point my camera to the sky, on any given day I can film 100 of these UAP Dragons. I can film 0 rocket-propelled devices. So just the numbers alone makes it far more likely that this is a UAP Dragon. And the reason it has a light out the back of it looking kind of like a rocket booster might actually be ionized gases. The electromagnetic propulsion system that it uses makes the gas in the air glow, whether it's the hydrogen or the nitrogen. Instead of a rocket booster, it may actually be like a halogen light bulb. When those gases are electrified, they glow. And so, it also smokes a lot more on its way out. After it impacts, it's only smoking a little bit on its way in to the truck. It's smoking 10 times as much on its way out. Only smoking a little bit on its way in, smoking a lot on its way out. Where did all that smoke come from? You impact something, it doesn't smoke just due to impact. That is part of the propulsion system, I believe. All that smoke that we're seeing is part of the propulsion system. And here I slow it down a bit. And you can see that on its way in, it's not smoking hardly at all. See, you can see a little tiny vapor trail behind it. On its way out, after it comes to a complete stop and then goes back up and to the left, that's when it smokes. And all of that smoke is coming from the propulsion system, not that pieces of the truck were burning or caught on fire. And the reason I believe that is because on the way in, it's already doing 500 miles an hour or however fast it's going. It's already up to speed. So there's not a lot of friction or pressure or opposing force. It's pretty much coasting on the way in. That's why it's barely leaving a tiny vapor trail. On the way out, it's going from 0 back up to 500 miles an hour, cranking up the throttle, creating a lot more friction and resistance and opposing force in order to get it from 0 back up to 500 miles an hour. It's like it's hitting the gas harder. That's why it's creating much more vapor. On the way in, hardly anything. On the way out, a giant cloud of vapor or smoke. And you can see the light looking like a rocket. As it comes in, you can see a light behind it, pushing it inwards towards the truck. On the way out, you can see a light behind it, pushing it outwards, back away from the truck in the opposite direction, like what we would think of as a rocket booster. But I think that was the propulsion system, and it's far more likely to be one of these highly advanced technological craft, like what we call a UAP Dragon, than some sort of rocket-propelled device like a giant bottle rocket or a rocket-propelled grenade that didn't explode. Like it came in, hit the truck, bounced off the ground, hit that other truck on its way out, and hit the gas. It was still under its own propulsion when it went back up in the opposite direction. The chances of a rocket-propelled device doing that is like 1 in a billion, maybe? if it's even possible at all. And when I point my camera to the sky, I don't see any rocket-propelled devices going through the air, but on any given day, I can film 100 of these UAP Dragons. That use these, custodian file says they're only about an inch. The physical UAP Dragon craft is only about an inch, but they create a 10-inch aura around them, about the size of that hole in the cab right there. All of that smoke did not come from the burning of the cab. No part of the cab is burnt. All of that smoke might actually be vapor, ionized gases coming from the propulsion system that this highly advanced technological craft uses. And maybe we shot it. Maybe Special Forces, government, military is trying to figure out different ways that they can take these things down. Develop some sort of defenses against them, because right now we're defenseless. We can't stop them, we can't catch them, we can't take them down. Maybe they hit it with some sort of EMP device, some sort of jamming device that made that one be out of control. And that's why it's throttled up. You can see the propulsion coming in with the light out the back, and you can see the propulsion when it goes back out in the same direction it came from, when it also has a light coming out the back of it. That might be the glowing gases. And this is far more likely to be one of these UAP Dragons than a rocket-propelled device. And just to do a little house cleaning on that fire that I showed that punched a hole in the ground in Carbon County, there's massive amounts of coal right here. This black line that you can see going through that rock, all of those black horizontal lines are what they call a coal seam. And these are all along. That's right there where they cut a slot in the canyon so that the trucks can drive through. That's coal. And that's what's burning underground. It isn't necessarily just burning in the coal mine or the mine shaft. It's burning through the ground in these coal seams. And this is why they say they may never be able to put it out. And that hole that it punched wasn't at an abandoned mine shaft. That hole that came out was just in the random spot in the middle of nowhere where the fire had burned its way underground through these coal seams to a point where it undermined a certain spot enough that the ground on the surface fell into the hole, because just beneath the surface right there was probably one of these coal seams that had been burnt out So right here, the hole that has now appeared and is making a problem, that's not a mine shaft. That's not where a mine used to be. There's no road leading up to it. It's just a random spot. See, there's no roads leading up to it. That's not an abandoned mine shaft. That's a random spot where the fire burning underneath the ground undermined enough of it. Well, wait a minute. That spot that I saw in the mountain right there, that looked square. Let me take another look. Right. Wait for it. Right there. That looks pretty square. So maybe this is at an old mine shaft. I'm not positive. But what I do believe is that it's burning its way underground through these coal seams, not just in the mine shaft, but all the way underground. These coal seams are burning, and that's why they say they may never be able to get it to go out. And so some people had some questions. Why Carbon County? That's why it's called Carbon County, is because all through there, there's massive amounts of coal. You can see it in the mountain where they've cut it out. That's why it's called Carbon County. And because there's so much coal seams running through there, it's perceivable that it'll just keep making its way underground in all sorts of different directions, undermining the ground everywhere it goes as it burns through that coal. So I'm not sure, but there's a good chance that that hole that it's punched, that wasn't a mine shaft. There was no hole there prior to a month ago when suddenly that hole appeared and smoke is coming out. And all the smoke is coal smoke, which is way worse than wood. I've burned some coal in a fireplace. It smells pretty bad. See, that's just a random hole that opened up all by itself. That's not a mine shaft, I don't believe. I believe it's burning its way all through the ground, and that's just a hole that opened up, probably because underneath that hole, enough coal had burned that the surface amount of the crust fell down in the hole where there was once coal holding it up.